It's time for the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast. Powerful and liberating business strategies you can start in 5 minutes or less. Now, here's your host, Dean Soto.
Hey, this is Dean Soto, founder of FreedomIn5Minutes.com and Prosulum.com, Prosulum.com. And we're here again with another Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast episode. Today's topic is this: disrupting the oil industry with Matt Laird. That and more coming up. Cool. So today I have a very, 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 very special guest, someone who is near and dear to me and who is also completely disrupting an industry that is, for a lack of a better word, extremely archaic, but still extremely profitable and brings in a lot of revenue. I'm here with Matt Laird from Camrock Oil Supply. Matt, how are you doing, my friend?
Man, life is good, Dean. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem. It's a long time coming. I've been wanting to interview Matt for quite some time, but I wanted things to be like perfect, man. I'm always like, okay, well, I want a lot of people to hear him. I want a lot of people to hear your story and what all the stuff that you've been able to do. And I mean, because it really is truly amazing what you're able to do right now. But all that being said, how in the heck? First, tell us a little bit about yourself and what industry you're in, and how did you end up being a part of the whole oil industry in general?
So starting out with who I am. So I'm a father of 3 beautiful daughters from ages 16 down to 5.
Nice.
Have an amazing wife who's from this part of the world, which we'll get into why I'm here. But to start out early, so as soon as I graduated out of high school and started looking for things to do, I found that I wasn't near as good at sports as I had once thought. So I found the next best thing. So I found a drilling rig. So basically, over the course of the next 20 years, I worked my way up into the drilling ranks. So I started at the bottom, roustabout, worked my way all the way up to where I was drilling consultant. I actually owned a company who had several drilling consultants out. So basically, my job was to manage the people who ran the entire drilling operation. Well, really good money, really fun job. Basically, really hard job to raise a family. So when you wake up and you realize that for 19 years you've been away from home 300 days a year and nights.
Holy moly!
Basically, have to find your way, right? So, about 5 years ago, we me and some partners started a business using Dave Ramsey's logic. We wanted to build the boat and get the boat close enough to the shore to step off and not make a huge jump. So we started a business in the lubrication and filtration industry. So servicing the oil field was our original goal. We were basically a full line lubricant, like motor oils and greases, and full line lubricants, and then filtration just being like your air filters and oil filters, similar to what you would put on your car, but in a little bit bigger scope. So that brings us up. We've had some really good successes over the last 5 years. Good enough that I was able to actually sell my consulting company and come on full time, so that I'm home every night. If I'm not home at night, it's because I'm on vacation. So that's where I'm at today. So wherever you want to take it, it's yours.
So for a little bit of background for those listening, I always pride myself on making very fast decisions, like 5-minute decisions, and doing things that will allow me to have more time or whatever it might be. Matt is on a whole nother level. So that was definitely an amazing background. Now, one thing that people don't realize is that you that the consulting side of things, you were making a lot of money, which you said, and like you said, you were gone pretty much the entire year away from your family, but you very quickly, given the data that you had and everything, you very quickly made that decision to let go of that whole entire thing, which was bringing in a lot of revenue for you. Yeah.
It was, it was a lot of money to walk away from, but at some point you had to realize what your family's worth. If I didn't make a decision really quickly, I would have just had a lot of money and an empty house.
I love it. Like, see, this is so from here on out, now that you're, while you're listening to this is the type of man that Matt is. And so just keep that in mind as we move forward through all of this. So it's just absolutely amazing what he this quick decision, literally it was like an overnight decision where he's like, I'm done. And so it's absolutely just inspiring. So all that being said, give me kind of the day-to-day with Camrock Oil and Supply, and we'll talk about how you've been actually disrupting the industry. Like when you first built this business, like what were some of, like, kind of what's your typical day? Like what are you servicing? What are you typically doing?
So early on in this business, we were just primarily a filtration company. So we just had a whole bunch of filters and a whole bunch of people that needed filters. So we got really big trucks and we filled them up with filters, and we drove around and realized pretty quickly that those filters are mostly air and there wasn't enough margin, huge invoices, but no margin. So we began to seek out something that was more profitable, that was more needed in the market, that would fit really well with our filter company. So as we added the bulk lubricants, we were able to definitely get into a niche. So we're one of our own. So there's not many small independent lubrication filtration companies. So there is some small independent oil companies, and then there's some parts houses. There's not really a merger between the two of lubrication filtration. But once we've realized that these two work so well together, we're able to infiltrate these markets that the person who's selling just oil couldn't get into, or the person that's just selling filters or truck parts getting into. So basically what we are is when we walk in the house, we walk into a shop, we've got a full line of outside salespeople who do an excellent job at getting us into facilities. But when we walk in the door, we can pride ourselves to say that we're going to get the best service. You're going to get the best overall products because we're able to cover needs and niches that no one else can do. So as far as Camrock as a business, we're a full outside sales, full delivery business that covers all lubrication filtration. But as far as what I do every day, all I really do is just grow the business. So I spend approximately 2 hours a day working in the business and about 8 to 10 hours working on the business. So I basically have pulled myself out of operations so that I can focus on going forward and moving the needle, disrupting the industry, not just selling more cardboard boxes, actually finding a way to change the entire scope of the industry.
Mm. So in this industry, because I remember you had went to a conference not too long ago and you're like, holy crap, like people in your industry tend to be doing the exact same thing. Like what differentiates you from, say, your closest competitor? What is like the big key factor that you're doing in this whole filtration and lubrication business that people, if the old school oil type were looking at you, they'd be basically say, that's impossible.
So basically the way that this deal works is that I'm in an old industry. I'm in an industry where there's no influx of new people because the cost and just the ability to get into this industry is so expensive and so time consuming. There's not really a big welcome party for new distributors in the market. So my closest competitor in the lubrication side does over $1 billion a year. So they're a huge, big company that's not nimble, that doesn't care about their quality, doesn't care about their personal services. They're more worried about how many gallons they can sell, all these big accounts. So with this big company growing bigger and essentially just through acquisitions and mergers taking over all of the small companies, it's just leaving a huge gap for me to get in with a little better service, maybe not even as well a good a price, but just a better service, a better customer relationship, and a little more technology. Basically, at the point where I'm at now, if I could do something, maybe I don't put my guys on a route. Maybe I go and get people their stuff when they need it, because I'm not worried about every single penny. I could charge a little more margin. And then on my filter side, in our truck parts as well, we've figured out ways through the market that we can offer a product at basically a more competitive price than what your auto parts stores can do because of the sheer volume that we do. So in our market, we have 2 small auto parts stores and 1 decently sized truck parts store. So I do more in filtration sales per month than the 3 of those do combined. So just in the sheer volume that I move in my filtration, I'm able to use my 10 or 12x buying power to push down the cost to the point where I'm competitive, so that I can cover my entire market with lubrication filtration. So for what I do a little better on my lubrication side than what the competitor does as far as quality goes, but my price is slightly higher, but my pricing on the other filtration covers that gap. So it's basically, if you use me for all of these product lines that I offer, my price is competitive with what you're paying across the board, yet you're getting a far superior service.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's amazing because it's essentially it's the choice between do I go with this big huge company to service all of the things that I need, who doesn't care about me because I'm just one of maybe thousands or one of maybe 10,000 accounts, and they just want to sell me stuff and that's about it, and take it or leave it. Or I can get the same or better discount from you and know that I'm actually being taken care of. Like, that to me is like a huge thing, which has always been good for at least my business, has been that ability to scale personal attention. And the fact that you can, with what you're doing, compete with this $1 billion company who's your next biggest competitor. You have no other competitors because the barriers to entry, and yet you're able to be small enough to give that scaled personal attention. That's huge. And do you see, like with your customers, do you see in them like appreciation of that?
So, I mean, I would just assume that appreciation or voting is done with your checkbook. So in the 5 years we've been in business, we've lost a few customers to mergers and acquisitions. But as far as retaining a customer, there's only 2 customers in the history of our entire company that have actually gone somewhere else.
Wow.
So of every customer I've ever sold a product to, I've only had 2 of the hundreds, or probably pretty high in the hundreds, that have ever actually quit using me and went somewhere else. So I think that our culture and our customer focus and our pricing structure and everything else is really, once someone comes to us and learns the way we do things and learns our culture and realizes that we do care, it's not just something we sell from the street, they never leave. And up to this point, it's been scalable. So it was scalable at 1 customer, scalable at 60, scalable at 200. And we just continue to just push that culture into our salespeople. So everyone that touches my customer knows the culture, knows that it's our determination that they do right. And I also have several of my salespeople that will follow up and actually will cross-pollinate between customers just to make sure that there's not any issues.
Wow. Dude, people would kill for that churn rate, man. I mean, most, a lot of service businesses, you're looking at a 10 to 25%, churn rate, people leaving, and for you to have, below 2%. I mean, it depends on how many hundreds you have. Like, that's a super low and super high retention rate that a lot of companies would die for. Oh my gosh, that's absolutely amazing, dude. So with all that being said, so a lot of people would think, okay, it's because Matt's smaller company, and smaller companies, you're able to have the more personal attention and yada yada. And but one thing that people might not realize is that you actually recently hit the Inc. 500, right?
We did. We hit Inc. 500, number 3 in the state of Oklahoma. I believe it was 36 in the energy sector.
Wow. See, look at that. So how in the heck, man, how do you, I mean, I know, because you follow, books and thoughts like Jason Fried's and David Hannemeyer Hansen's Rework and a whole bunch of other really
I have Rework sitting on my desk right now.
Yeah, that's why I love you. So, you have to grow, right? They contrary to popular belief, I shouldn't say contrary to popular belief, but popular belief is that you have to be this, in order to hit the Inc. 500 at all, you have to be this huge organization with, hundreds of employees. How many hundreds of employees do you have, man?
I have 3.
Not 300, 3 employees, right?
I have 3 employees, and then I have 4 outside sales that are contracts that they have other lines that they sell other than just mine. So, and then my wife and I. So there's essentially less than 10 people in the whole building, and then I'm running 2, one part-time and 1 full-time VSA that do all of my background stuff, everything that nobody sees. I have VSAs doing.
So cool, dude. Yeah. So then that's one of the reasons why I was so excited to have you on, is just how you are able to do all of that with such a small amount of overhead when it comes to at least payroll, So how did you go about structuring that to where, your next biggest competitor, I'm sure, has way more employees than you do, because most Inc. 500 companies do have a ton more employees. Like, what was going through your mind, and how did you actually make it a reality to have such a small organization that is able to deliver such value that you're able to hit the Inc. 500?
Okay, so there's a lot of pivots along the way, but when we originally started the company, so it was myself and 2 other partners, we started the company as an investment that we would oversee, not as a business we would run day to day. Basically, everything was put in place from day one. That basically we started with the E-Myth Revisited, right? So the first employee was day one, and that employee had to do this, this, and this. And then as we grew, we're going to add another, we're going to add another, we're going to add another. That didn't work. So that didn't work at all. Basically, this was about 3.5 to 4 years of me working my other job and then putting in 40 to 50 hours a week on this job, plus my business partners as well. I had 3 different times I hired someone who was Six Sigma or had all of the abbreviations in front of their name, and Basically, I hired 3 different people at 3 different times to try to grow the company. And I had 0 success with any of them. So every single time I would grow up to 8, 10, 12 people, then I would go back and realize that this isn't working, that we're losing money, that we're failing, that, that this is not the path we need to be on. So there was 3 times in the growth of the 5 years that we actually ended up back with 1 employee.
Wow.
And 1 salesperson other than myself.
Yeah.
But over the course, so what I finally realized was that it's not the people, right? So the people that I hire aren't bad people. What I realized was that there's no way I can increase the ability of my company if I cannot get beyond 2 to 3 people and my culture shift. So basically that's where I realized that everything had to be documented. Everything has to be written down, checklist. Everything has to be repeated. So how do we go to a customer today and we drop off their products and we throw them in the middle of the floor and they're super upset, and then the next day we go back and we put them all on the shelves? Well, that was happening at some point, right? So maybe not that dramatic, but there was, at one point, there was no system, there was no follow-up, there was no way that anybody other than my 1 delivery guy that's always been with me, and my 1 employee that's always been with me in the office. So if those 2 people weren't doing it, if anybody else was doing it, it would get sloppy.
Yeah.
Well, I just realized that those people aren't training because they don't have any guidelines to train off of.
Yeah.
So I train them so they know. But it's just the carbon copy effect. And every time I get to the next person, it's lesser of a solid line. And then I get to the next person, then it's a dotted line. And then I get to the next person, and the next person's costing me more money than they're making me. So it's basically, I went through this transition 3 different times and realized that in each of those times, I could have been well-rounded. I think the people would have probably done an excellent job had my training been better. So basically, I was able to come in at that point using, first I tried to do it myself, PowerPoint, tried to build these processes. I spent 100 hours and got 3 processes documented maybe. It was definitely a terrible thing, but
I know the feeling, dude.
yeah. So then after Dean and I were talking, and he was able to bring his guys in. Basically, it was pay per click on these processes, and I would spend my day from 4 p.m. until 5 p.m. every day working on the one thing that I never wanted to do again. So whatever I did today between 4 p.m. and 5 p.m., I didn't never want to have to do it again, and I wanted it to be done correct. So all I would do is follow Dean's program. So you basically jump on Loom, record that process exactly like you would want it done. Because you have a system. Your system may suck, but you have a system. So record your system exactly like it is on Loom every day, whatever that process is. And I would email it to Dean, and Dean finally got tired of me emailing to him, and then he gave me somebody else's email. But every day at the end of the day, between 4 and 5, I would email my whatever that process was over to Dean, and he would send to his guys the next morning when I got back to the office, or the next morning sometime. I would have a full process document that was just prim and proper. I would look through it. Very few times did I even have to correct anything on there. It was just perfect. And then I was able to use that as training. So I would basically start training my staff as I was growing. And then I lost the girl that was working for me. That was my bookkeeper / receptionist. When I lost her, I decided to give the VSAs a try. And I was able to not only have the VSAs do what I had priorly been doing, but also what she was doing. And then a few weeks later, I lost another employee. And then, so now I have one, essentially a full-time and a part-time VSA that do the work of the 3 people that I lost, including myself, which pulled me completely out of the business.
So cool.
So that I can just spend a couple hours in the morning checking on things and then off to disrupt the industry.
That's awesome, dude. Oh, I love it. I love it. So it's so cool that you felt the pain of documenting your processes. That is the worst, man. I mean, but it's what was necessary. Obviously, any real business has to have those documented processes. With all of those, one of the things that what you said, and we had talked about in private before, is that you said that you had systems. Like, the systems could have sucked, but you had systems and you documented it anyway. Like, that seemed like it was a pretty big game changer, right? Like, rather than trying to create a new system that you don't know is proven.
Yeah. So, I mean, just one system I use, right? So instead of having some fancy software for my inventory, I use QuickBooks. I could use something else, and I may at some point use something else. But right now, I just use QuickBooks. QuickBooks Platinum has an inventory feature. And I have Bernadette, who's my full-time VSA. She creates an Excel spreadsheet that I recorded one afternoon when I never wanted to do it again. She jumps onto my QuickBooks. She has full access to my inventory on my QuickBooks. She builds this spreadsheet. She runs through the spreadsheet and knows exactly how long it takes to order something. She knows how long it takes to come in, and then minimum order amounts. And then she will actually take that spreadsheet that I generated, that I taught her how to do on a Loom video. She actually takes that, creates purchase orders in my QuickBooks, then puts a suffix on the end that has the purchase order number with the -INC. So when I get to the office in the mornings, it's already ready. I open up my open purchase orders folder on QuickBooks. Anything that says INC suffix after the part number means that has not been ordered. So all I have to do, instead of the 45 minutes to an hour it takes me to run through that spreadsheet every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, now I get to the office, open up my QuickBooks, and I can look and see that, this particular vendor, I know I need to get to $1,500 to get free freight. It's at $1,411. I can either throw on one or two items, or I can just wait. And then the following Tuesday or Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, I know it'll get over $1,500. So, and then, so I never had this system before. This is something new that just happened to come up whenever I was making the videos. Once I started making a video, I felt more comfortable, and then I was able to be more creative as I was doing it. And one real big thing that just the straight game changer was that I know that I'm not going to have to do this process. I may add steps that make it easier for me to go back later, because I know I'm not the one doing it every day. So there's been several times where I'm just generating a new process or a process that I'm already doing, and there's stuff that I've always known that I needed to be doing, but I've just been kind of skipping.
Yeah.
When you make that process document, you add all that stuff in.
Yeah.
And now that stuff that you always wish you would have done is now being done.
That's so cool, dude. Oh, I love it. I love it. So I want to ask the big question, which is the question I ask everyone during this. So if you had 5 minutes and it was like a life or death situation, so to speak, what is something that strategically, if somebody were to implement whatever it might be, what would be something that you could strategically give someone, or that would absolutely change their life in 5 minutes if they made a decision to actually do it?
So if I had 5 minutes to explain it, or if they had 5 minutes?
Both. 5 minutes to explain it. 5 minutes to explain.
Oh man, Russell Brunson gave people 30 days for his. That's 5 minutes.
That's how we roll here, man. We're lazy. We need to do something fast.
I really think, and obviously, I'm kind of biased right now because I've been going through so much of this new training to get to mass market. But today, I would say, if you want to do something to get your life in order, or would you want it to be life, or is it just something that someone can do today?
It can be business, it could be life, it could be absolutely anything. Something that's just like that is super impactful. It's like it's something that you know would or has made a big difference in your life.
So I'm going to have to go with more than one thing. So the most impactful thing that I've ever had in my life is getting my morning routine dialed in. So without my morning routine, my days are essentially garbage, right? So I'm just chasing that sanity that I would have had with my morning routine. So I spend an extra hour a day getting ready to play, getting ready to win.
Yeah.
If I don't spend that hour and a half, or however long it takes, getting ready in the mornings, I might as well just stay in bed. That's my number one life hack up to date.
I love that. And you can tell me the number two after this, but so what is your normal morning routine like? Like, what do you do personally?
So I think you know it personally, but I'll go through it. So the first thing I do is I get up, use the bathroom, weigh myself, brush my teeth, make a coffee with 1 teaspoon of either grass-fed Kerrygold butter, unsalted, or ghee, whichever I have there. 1 tablespoon of MCT oil. I use the Brain Octane, I've been using it for years. I love it. While that's brewing, I take a scoop of the either Organifi or green smoothie. I've been using the Warrior brand lately just because it tastes so much better. Crush the green smoothie. That's still in my, I'm still in my pantry. Pop a couple nootropics, Alpha Brain or whatever. I'm on that. I cycle through them a lot. So whichever nootropics I'm on, I'll pop that.
Dude, yeah, you got me back onto that, by the way, and it's made a huge difference.
Brain fog, man. I'm 100% against the brain fog.
Oh my gosh, it's way like so. I was doing the Qualia for a while, and that would just make me really anxious for whatever reason. But I've been using. I know you've used the Thrivus whole stack that they have. That's what I've been using too, and oh my gosh, night and day difference, man. It's
good, man. Then I'm coming to my office. So in my office, I have 4x6 index cards, random assortment of colors. So I have the 3 daughters and 1 wife. So I'll write them a note to each of them every day. On my note, I'll say something like, had a great time at the movies. Can't wait to go. We're going to go to the movies this week, whatever my daddy-daughter date or my wife and I date is for the week. Sometimes I'll bring up a unique memory that we share together. Anyway, I put something on the card, not a whole bunch because I write it in permanent marker. So it's big, takes up the whole card, boom, kind of in your face. And then I take those into my oldest daughter charges her phone in the living room because I won't let her have it in the room. I put her card under there. My 2 youngest kids, I put them where they eat their breakfast. And then my wife, I put it by the coffee pot. So that's done. Got all my family stuff out of the way just so that when they wake up, they know even though I'm not here, I do love them. And then I have come back into my office. I'll throw on hit record. I am blogging a book. So I'll do 5 to 7 minutes, 5 a.m. on my book. Then I'm dressed and out the door, jump in my truck, turn on the Through the Word app, TTW. Right now tomorrow I'm finishing up the End Times, which was 70 days worth or something.
Wow.
soon as I pull up at the office isn't very far, so usually I can go through that 5 to 6 minutes on the way to the office. Pull up the office. I'll run in and kick all the heaters on in the office because I'm cheap, so I turn all the heaters off at night. My staff's in the Philippines anyway, so they don't need it at night. And then I'll jump back in my truck. And so as soon as I get back in my truck, I'll go through what's called the Stack, which is an app put on by the Warrior, which is Garrett J. White.
Yep.
Basically, it asks yourself a lot of open-ended questions.
Yep.
Steady. So there's like 15 different questions it asks you. And then it asks you the question, how you feel about what you just said. It's a really good app. Warrior Brotherhood, Garrett J. White.
Yeah.
And then kick on Headspace. So right there in my truck, in the parking lot at work, 10 minutes. Today, I actually stepped it up to 20 minutes of Headspace.
Whoa.
Basically do a bunch of, right now I'm doing one of the programs that go through, right? So it's like 10-day challenges or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm good. It's about 6:10. Office is already warmed up. I'm already at the office. I've already had my first coffee. And then I'm ready to go. So I skip, I don't do any fitness in the mornings, which to someone who doesn't work out a lot, I would recommend fitness in the morning. Mm-hmm. But for me, it just doesn't work with my schedule because I have 100+ minute workout regimen that I have to do all together. I would have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. So we don't do that. So, but that's it, man. I'm in the office. I'm usually sitting at my desk at 6:15, leveled, centered. I've already pre-planned my entire week on Sunday. So I have my schedule laying out in 30 to 45 minute increments and I'm ready to go.
Dude, I love that. Oh man. And that is definitely why it's super important as far as the 5-minute strategic thing. That is awesome. All the stuff that you're able to pack in to an hour and a half. Obviously a lot of that comes from the Warrior stuff. That's actually how Matt and I had met. We actually did Warrior Week with through Garrett J. White's program.
Warrior Week 57, man. It's the most uncomfortable the human body could be without dying.
I know, it was crazy, man. And it wasn't just the physical; it was all the emotional stuff too, man. Like it's crazy. So yeah, dude. So that was one. You said that there was two things. So there's one was the getting your morning routine down, which you out of everybody, you definitely are so structured with that morning routine and actually doing it on a regular basis. I have a morning routine that relatively mimics what you're doing, but sometimes it's at 6, sometimes it's at 8, sometimes it's at 7, sometimes it's at 9. My dream is to just make it 6 o'clock from here on out, but we'll see if I can make that happen. So,
I've been chasing a morning routine for years.
Really?
Funny enough, you wouldn't think that you would, but so like I've heard people talk about their meditation practices and their morning routines. I read Elrod Miracle Morning,
Miracle Morning.
3 or 4 years ago. And I've always been trying to get it primed and get it right. I just didn't have all the pieces of the puzzle. But it is super important at this point to have all of that correct.
No, I love it, man. I love it. It definitely makes a huge difference. Like every Monday we have our group that we talk that you're a part of, and every time, because I have to be on at around, wake up at 4:45 and be on at 5. Like I've gotten so much done today, like way more than I normally do during the week. And I'm like, I got to do this every day. But then Tuesday comes around and it's kind of harder to wake up. But yeah. So what's the second thing, man? You mentioned 2. You got me all.
And so the second thing is where I'm going right now, man. It's the niches, man. It's not mass market. I mean, it's obviously mass market. You don't want to be in a small area, but it's just to get into that niche, right? So you want to find your customer in the niche, in the niche, in the niche. So you want to know basically your customer, you want to be able to draw that avatar on a piece of paper. You want to know how many kids they have. You want to know how many trucks they have, or you want to know how many rakes they have, or whatever it is that you do. You need to find out what your current customer is. And I have done some soul searching lately, and I realized that a majority of the customers that I work with now don't fit into my perfect customer bubble. Not to say that it doesn't work, but I do know that the ones that do fit into my customer bubble feel better with my service. They feel better with me as a person, and I like being around them. So you can't force yourself to go to work when you're actually going, and it's people you like to be around. It's people you like to serve. But I really think that finding that niche, the people you want to work with, and finding where they're at inside of their niche is super important.
That's awesome, man. And I like so you recently put out a funnel and a video, and when I heard the video that you did, it was so specific to problems that you face, that you know others face those exact same problems, that it got me interested and hooked like right away. And I'm definitely don't have those problems, but it was as if I was in the room and you were speaking to a friend of mine that was in the oil or had a fleet of trucks, but wasn't big enough to be to get the discounts that a lot of these big distributors and so on are able to get. Like the way that you talked on this video, it was so narrow and specific in the pain that the person's feeling that it was contagious. And I just thought that, like, the fact that you're able to go that deep definitely tells the person listening that you know if they're going, if they are actually going to be a customer, the pain that they're going through, and then you have the path and the possibility of helping them to get past that pain that they're currently in right now. It was pretty amazing.
Well, we're hoping to actually launch today. Funnel launches today. I'm just finishing up. This will be my first, funny enough, Inc. 500 going on probably 2 years in a row. And I've only spent $250 for my entire career in advertising. So my first funnel launches today, and sad to say that as soon as I hit click, it's going to double my ad spend for my life.
Oh, poor guy. Dang.
Yeah.
Dude, so all that being said, like how can people reach you? How can people connect with you? Whether they're customers or strategic partners or how can people work with you?
Yeah. So basically I'm available email or, LinkedIn. That's the only two platforms that I use. I don't do social media. I don't have any of the, Instagram, TikTok, whatever the newest thing is, LinkedIn or email. So my email is matt.laird@camrocksupply.com, and my name's Matt Laird on LinkedIn.
Oh, I love it. I'm going to grab your LinkedIn profile link real quick. Hold on 1 second. So when my guys are doing the blog post for this, they can link to you. You heard that, guys? Thank you so much for doing my blog post for me, by the way, as you're hearing this. So LinkedIn.com/in/Matt-Laird-77540B59. Okay, cool. So you can go there, and then you can actually go to, what was your website? It was Camrock.
CamrockSupply.com.
CamrockSupply.com as well. So go check that out. CAMROCK supply.com. Dude, you're amazing. And I would love to have you on again and talk specific things operations wise and things like that later. But I really wanted to get you on just to introduce you and show people that if you're able to hit the Inc. 500 with the overhead that you have and with the flexibility that you have in an industry that is absolutely archaic and old, it shows what you're able to do, that you don't have to go with the flow and stuff like that. So it's just amazing to have you on, man, and see all the things that you're doing.
Well, man, I appreciate it. Yep. Let me know whenever you're ready. I do know that after the 21st, when I go live with my new project, I would definitely like to talk on how that thing's going. We're going to disrupt the industry.
I love it, man.
2020.
I love it. Well, how can people get to your funnel?
It's not launched at the time, but the regular email address for that will be Fleet, FLEETEX.net.
Cool. Perfect. FleetX.net. Cool. So by the time this is on, it should be up and running, man. That's great. Cool. Well, it's great having you on, brother. I appreciate it. And guys, go check out Matt Laird. If he is just an absolutely amazing person. And then go check out camrocksupply.com and also fleetx.net. Until then, guys, this has been the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast, and we will check you out in the next Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast episode.
Thanks for listening to the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast. Now, head over to www.freedomin5minutes.com and register for our free masterclass and discover how to start systemizing and automating your entire business 5 minutes at a time. We'll see you next time on the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast.